Let's talk about that 5-paragraph essay. What's wrong with it? Nothing's really wrong with it, but it is not the only structure that we should be using. You all know it. It's often drawn like this hamburger. There is an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion that does what? Restates the intro? Yes, you've written so many of them throughout your lives, probably. And it's regarded as academic writing. In fact, it's just about the only academic writing that most people ask their students to do at school. I started searching this, and my quest took me to many different authors. This made me think about my own experience with students and all of those crumpled papers. What is wrong with the 5-paragraph essay? Well, I think there are some things wrong with asking students to do them. They don't know how to write a 5-paragraph essay, but we could teach it to them because it's going to always have the same structure. If teachers are deciding students should do a 5-paragraph essay, they've already chosen the structures for the students. Those are mostly all decided by the teachers. But that's not the worst thing. The worst thing about a 5-paragraph essay is they're not fun to read. That means they're not really written for readers. They're written for school, for grades. So if you don't see 5-paragraph essays out there in nature and magazines and bookstores, why do we keep asking students to write them? Just to give them a hoop to jump through? Well, I've heard teachers say if they don't start off with the basics, they won't know how to make their own variations. But we don't teach them the variations either. They're doing 5-paragraph essays from 4th grade all the way up to college. So I finally found some answers, some thoughts, when I read Thomas Newkirk's Reclaiming the Essay. He said that he thinks that teachers often give the students the 5-paragraph essay because students need help. And when teachers teach them what to do step by step in a concrete fashion using the 5-paragraph essay, it's teachable. And here's the thing. He says we don't have any teachable alternatives. Well, that made me stop in my tracks and think, we don't have any teachable alternative? Well, let's find some, or make some, or notice some, and make a big pile of alternatives to that one structure. So that's been my quest. I wondered, how do we do this? How do we find other structures? The same Thomas Newkirk gave me a clue with this sentence. We should ask how writing can foster and track movement of the mind. Think of that. Do our minds actually move? They should. I hope they do. Yes, of course they do. We take in thoughts and we make sense out of them. But Newkirk says there are 2 main questions. Put very simply, what do you know and how do you know it? Or even more simply, what's one thing you know and how do you know that one thing? I like to show this to students. On the right-hand side, everything you know, and on the left-hand side, all the ways you gathered up your information from your experience, from conversations and things you've read or heard, books you've read, movies you've watched, songs you've listened to, conversations you've been a part of, all the steps you've taken and places you've gone, things you've eaten or smelled, every single sound that you've ever heard. All of those things are input. And what we do with them in our heads is how we make sense out of everything. So which hand comes first? I don't know. They go back and forth all the time. And that's how we can make structures. Because every good piece of writing has to have something from each hand. If you tell how you know it and what it is that you know, in any order that you want. And there comes the flexibility with how you lay out the ideas you want to put forth. If we're answering what's one thing I know and how do I know it, everybody's writing could be different. Now, how do we make that idea teachable? We know what to do and we know why. We just need to learn how. we're going to work on that next.